That's true.
All right. My goodness. Are we ever going to do a live without any issues?
I just sit over here and watch you get mad and frustrated and cuss up a storm at a computer.
My face go back to looking normal colors, not as
Yeah,
red?
you don't have that vein pulsing out of your head, so that's a positive.
Well, sorry. Obviously, it's new software, new computer, new everything, and it's been fun for lack of profanity that I can't be saying on live as much. But welcome to episode 14 of Coffee with the Johns. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving weekend.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks. Yeah, we didn't do Thanksgiving because of that. I had a Mac and it decided to crash on me. Apparently, I was pushing it a little bit too much and had to get a more powerful computer. So I decided to switch over to Windows, and all the software changes when you switch from one to the other. So it's been a huge learning curve. But here we are. Hopefully everything works. Let me know in the chat if you're hearing us fine, if everything's coming through okay. If you can see us fine, all of that, please let me know. And how's your Thanksgiving, Mr. Barr?
It was great. Had some family, some friends over and got together at my girlfriend's parents' house and had a grand old time.
Nice.
So her sister and boyfriend came in from San Diego. So the entire week not entire week, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we were hanging out with them.
Okay.
And kind of showing them around San Antonio.
Did you abide by the curfew? Make sure not to be outside after 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Good. My family was actually very nervous.
Oh, really?
They came over and they were over until about 9:45 ish, and then all of a sudden they're like, should we start heading home? Are we gonna get pulled over? My sister-in-law comes out. She's like, yeah, I heard that they're giving $1,000 fines for anybody that they catch on the road. I'm like, all right, I don't think we're going that far.
Yeah, you just couldn't be at a bar or restaurant or place of congregation after 10 p.m. So you couldn't be your entire family in a park or something like that. It wasn't okay, you're driving on the road at 10 o'clock by yourself. No, it's not that kind of martial law curfew.
Yeah. Is the chat working? Are you able to comment? It's working? Yeah. Is anybody chatting? Because I'm not seeing anything.
You're good.
All right.
Well, it's taking a minute for people to get over this.
No, I get it. I'm just not seeing anything. Did you see the one that I posted? Join the convo? I don't know why I'm not seeing any of the chat. So that's always good, right? The person that's doing it not seeing the information?
Yeah.
That's always good. All right, YouTube. You're awesome.
And everyone says streaming will be easy.
Oh, yeah, you should do this part-time, and everybody's like, oh, I was thinking about starting, a YouTube channel and doing this. I'm like, well, good luck. I don't wish anybody any bad or anything. It's just it's not a simple.
If you see the pictures I post in the morning, it's we got 3 cameras, we got cables running everywhere, we got power cords, we got lighting, we got computers, we got just stuff strung all over the place behind the TV and everything that you guys can't see.
There's a full audience. I mean, it's insane. All right, let's get into it. So we got a lot to cover. Sorry for the little rant and everything. It was intentional, trying to give some people more time to jump on and see the links and everything. But we do have a lot to cover. We have a lot in real estate. We promise we're not going to be talking about politics anymore. That's kidding.
A lie.
Of course we are. What are we talking about?
I would love not to, but it's kind of this is a business podcast. Politics kind of take over the news and
especially with the crazy things that they're doing. I mean, how do you not talk about it? I mean, we were just cracking up. What was it before Thanksgiving? Your idol. What's the guy from California? Newsom. Yeah, the guy that you want to grow up to be when you get older.
Yeah.
All the laws, everything that he's passing in California, and then he has a huge party with
10 people,
yeah, with
he goes to a
nobody.
birthday party.
Yeah, I was like, well, and people are astonished. I was like, but that's what politicians do. Do what I say, not what I do, right? And I'm like, it's just hilarious because people flip their shit. They got upset, and it's just, I don't know, just kind of funny. But a lot of things were going on in the news as far as the more lockdowns, more city. Oh,
I just noticed I'm looking at myself and filming myself, talking to myself like 4 computer screens deep.
there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, don't text me. I don't have my phone.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started in this.
So what are we tackling first? What do you want to hit?
We have real estate. We
first.
Real estate first. I mean, we're real estate
Ooh.
people. It's what we do. It's what we love. It's our passion. We spend all day doing it. So let's talk about real estate first.
Let's get her done.
Because it's actually like you look at this economy and it's actually one of the bright spots of this economy that is actually booming and doing very well. It's having its challenges, but it's challenges not from a lending standpoint that real estate's crashing. No, real estate's actually rising extremely quickly, just for the fact that there's no inventory. Right. And the first topic is mortgage rates fall to a new record low of 2.71. So the average U.S. mortgage rate for a 30-year fixed loan fell 1 basis point this week to 2.71. Fannie Mac said it in a report Thursday, the lowest rate in the survey near 50-year history. This week's rate broke the previous record set on November 19th. The average fixed rate for 15-year mortgage fell to 2.26 from 2.28. That's something that's just insane. They wonder, like, well, why is housing prices going up so fast? It's like, well, when mortgage rates drop, housing prices rise equally. Like, you're not adding extra value to the economy. Values are going up because mortgage rates are going down, which allows people to afford more.
Right.
So their chief economist, his name's Sam Qatar, is quoted saying, while home buyer appetite remains robust, the scarce inventory has effectively put a limit on how much higher sales can increase. Unfortunately, the record low supply combined with strong demands means home prices are rapidly accelerating and eroding the benefit of low mortgage rate environment. So that's just basically saying that even though mortgage rates are super low, there's no inventory. So it's pushing prices up at a very fast rate, like 6, 7, 8%, like sometimes in some areas month over month. And it's eliminating the benefit of getting a low mortgage, lowering your payments because prices are just going up that fast if you're trying to buy a new home just because there's no inventory on the market.
Well, so kind of hitting on that point a little bit, you put out the market update last week.
Yeah.
And we saw a big change in a price point. What was that about?
I don't know, because it's one of those I'm looking back over the data, and we rely on data that's posted publicly on others, and I put it all in one place. But some of it, there's some discrepancies. I'm thinking something got off, not posted properly that we made the data off of. But what it did show, and it was concerning, is the price point of like 200 to 250,000, I believe it was, had a massive increase in inventory on the market for what had sold. So that would be good news. I mean, it was still below your equilibrium, but it did show that housing prices or inventory had started to decrease in that price point. So it's kind of like, we'll have to definitely keep an eye on that.
So you're leaning more towards that there was a glitch. That something got misreported or some data didn't come through because you don't feel that's
because it was
such a huge.
Yeah, because it's one of those that, like, in the economic environment, if that did happen, it's one of those like, whoa, I could see that happening with all the things going on in the economy right now. So it's kind of one of those that, like, I'm going to dig into this a little bit to make sure, like, is this right?
Yeah.
Because if it's right, it's like, ooh, that's not good, because it went from like 2 months of inventory up to like 5 months of inventory in a certain price point. And so when I looked into that, I saw some data that doesn't look like it came across correctly. I can't go back and get it anymore because it's not there, or it'd be a lot harder to get. But it's one of the things I'm definitely going to be watching moving forward of, does this continue? Because if it continues, it's like, okay, this wasn't a 1 month fluke. That would say like next month, when I should actually have the data here in the next couple of days and know, all right, that was a fluke, or it's persisting for a second month. It's like, okay, 1 month, all right. 2 months, it's like, no, I think something might actually be happening here. So
Yeah. So I mean, if you guys want to see that market update, John does an excellent job every single month. It's I put the link in the chat for you guys, and it's also going to be linked in the description after the live. So make sure to check it out. But yes, Molly, John is always cold. You should know this. I was
Popping
actually
collars.
that's a good point. So a little segue on that is I'm asking for donations. I want to get John a very nice Snuggie, something that can keep him nice and warm because he freezes during the winter months.
No, I just got a space heater for $20 to put up in my office.
So you should see the whole contraption underneath the table just so he can stay in room temperature.
Oh, is that it? Is that it? All right.
So what's next?
So the caveat to that they're saying the 2021 market is expected to be extremely strong, so even with low inventory. And this is a article from Housing Wire. So even prior to the pandemic, housing inventory had hit record lows, and the problem has only gotten worse as demand continues to rise. Total home sales are outpacing new listings by a wide margin every month, and real estate tech company HomeSnap foresees a shortage continuing into 2021 unless more sellers enter the market. And this is where it was crazy to me. The divide between supply and demand is striking. Compared to last year, total new listings increased by 0.22%, while total sales increased by 19.29%. So new listings only up 0.25%. New solds up 20%. So it's just absolutely just draining the inventory from the market, and it's pushing would-be home buyers out of the market because the inventory is so low that they can't find houses that they do want. There's like everything on the market's kind of a piece of crap. Like I don't want to pay $250,000 for something I still got to sink another $40,000 into to update the thing. So it's pushing home buyers out of the market.
It's also kind of how what we've been noticing with some of the properties that we've been looking at is, we're kind of gauging the repairs that we would have normally done, how they're not necessarily the repairs that we would do now, because we're seeing such low inventory and there isn't enough of a margin or even a need to spend that level of money because people just want a house that has maybe the room or the yard or the location that, we sold that one house and we did a video on it, the 40 grand that we made in a week, because that house, we didn't touch anything, and yet it's a livable house, of course, and it's dated, but it's sold the same day, and we're seeing that across the board. And I think that's something very important for investors to keep in mind. That's like, just because you used to buy a house and do a full update on them, like, you gotta understand the market that you're in. Not every market requires that.
It's brought a lot of people into our business of wanting to buy, so it's pushed up our prices that we try to buy a house at.
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult to where you have to be fluid with the market and shift your strategy, be watching what's going on. So now it's like, hey, as long as the kitchen isn't broken or the cabinets aren't just like destroyed, like if they can close, it's like people will buy the houses. Like, so that means your margins still get squeezed on the sale because you still have to pay such a high price to buy the house. Yeah. But it's one of those that you just got to keep in mind long-term moving through the project of just like, you know what? I don't need to do all this stuff anymore because the market is bearing these costs because there's no inventory. And so that's something you have to.
Kim here that she asks, is this driving the repair cost up?
No, I think it's driving down because you don't have to do the repairs. What's driving repair costs, or what was driving repair costs up, I mean, we haven't really done a full repair in quite some time, is the amount of work that's out there. There's contractors that they're just charging more money because they have been swamped with work. But, that's pretty much what you're going to see as far as repair costs. And then material costs. We've seen a huge interruption in supply chains for materials, for everything like that. And that's been causing plywood, 2x4s, sheetrock, everything to go up, which costs more to renovate houses. So you add all that rise in, labor, materials, and then you add the demand for homes, and it's like, well, I got to spend more, 15 to 20% more, perhaps on a rehab that I would have done before, and now I don't even need to do the rehab at all. Mm-hmm. So do you feel that this kind of dynamic is going to
worst product on the market.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, and at higher prices.
Right.
Just because there's no demand. I mean, when we listed that house, we had 3 offers. Like, we weren't expecting to get an offer at all.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like 3 full price
We
offers.
had contingency. Oh, we'll drop to this, and then we'll drop to this.
Yeah,
And
it's like we'll take like an extra 20 grand less. We'll probably still sell it if somebody offered. But no, full price. 2 full price offers. A third one that came in at a little less, of like even higher than what we were willing to walk away from it at, and we didn't do any repairs.
Yeah.
And Tommy puts in here, he's following our advice at for 12214 Lone Shadow and Live Oak, low touch rehab and retail. It's kind of funny. We actually did a house 2 years ago on Lone Shadow, so I'm very familiar with the area. But that is what I think is driving. It's going to drive worse product to the market at a higher price.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's not there. There's no inventory coming to the market to say you can't get away with that. So if you want, it's going to push home buyers out of the market is what it's going to do. It's like,
Why? Why?
Because I can rent something now, because rents aren't going up as fast as home prices, to where I can rent something for $1,600 that has all the amenities I want, or I have to pay for a mortgage payment, have $1,600. I own a house, yes, but the thing's dated. I don't have a pool. I got to make repairs. I still got to sink money into it. The roof's old. The AC's old. The paint colors are nasty. It's tile floor is dated, to where I think that's where you'll see the kind of things level off. And until more inventory, better inventory can hit the market, you're going to see stuff continue to do that.
And that's also a thing, that more inventory hitting in the market. I mean, we have seen more sellers come into the market. We have seen, in your previous market update, we had seen that there's been more sales because more sellers are selling their homes.
Yeah.
Right. And so the inventory had gone up, but there's still even more buyers.
Well,
and
that's the problem. Is that inventory is rising, but the
So is
new
the buyer
home
demand.
buyers are rising tenfold over what 100 times more. You're looking at 0.25% in new listings, but then total sales up 20%. That's a huge demand that's going to suck that inventory down. So
what's a play for investors on all this? What's your recommendation to them?
It's really
put you on the spot.
Well, no, it's like, what's the recommendation? It's like, you just need to understand the market of what's going on, to where I don't think it's going to reverse. I don't think we're going to have a foreclosure crisis, because with this much buyer demand, if somebody needs to get out of their house and they have the equity to get out of their house, they can. Right. So they can sell their house and it's gone like that. So you're not going to be able to scoop up cheap properties all over the place unless the economic environment deteriorates further.
Well, and to kind of hit on that point, we'll just jump an article and then we'll go back. But, the FHFA extends foreclosures and evictions on moratoriums. So
until the end of January, right?
Until the end of January. So you have now, this is the stuff that we talked about plenty of times, when we see investors, mostly wholesalers, that are trying to anticipate a crash, right? They're trying to anticipate, when are the foreclosures coming back? Everybody wants foreclosures to come back. It's actually kind of funny in a way that's like, you don't understand the implications of foreclosures coming back. Like, you think, oh, foreclosures are coming back, so yay, we're gonna get to crush it again. Yeah. And it's like, if foreclosures are coming back, we have an economic crisis.
Yeah.
You understand? That's like, your buyer pool dwindles tremendously. Like, it's not as simple as you think. Yes, that is a time when you pick up amazing deals, but the savvy investors are very hard to find during those times. The investors that have the capital or access to the capital to pick up all those foreclosures are hard to find. So all the novice investors that are right now buying all the crap that wholesalers are putting out, they go away because they usually get either wiped out because of whatever the economic crisis is, or they just get scared. They probably lost their ass on a few deals, because if foreclosures are coming back, prices are probably starting to level off. You're not getting this appreciation, a lot of things. So when people are begging for foreclosures, they don't understand, I believe, the implications of all this. And then added to that, when you're trying to predict it, like you and I have spoken about a bunch of times, is that we don't know what the hell the government's going to do.
Yeah.
But what we can pretty sure bet on is that they're not going to let the housing market crash. And that's what they've been proving time and time again. They extend the moratoriums. They extend the help. You have FHA, so they're doing that, right? FHA is extending FHFA, not FHA. They're extending it because they're saying, homeowners need to be feeling okay. They need to feel confident that everything is going to be fine. So we're extending that. And that's also, which I didn't know this before, maybe you did, but that is also an extension, applies to real estate owned properties. So the REOs that people always talk about in marketing and everything, REOs, they're bank owned property. So when a bank forecloses, so foreclosures are still happening. So let's say you didn't file for forbearance or any type of help and you get foreclosed on.
Yeah.
This moratorium actually goes to the bank where they can foreclose on you and take the house back, but they can't kick you out. So if you're the homeowner, I didn't know this. I didn't know that was I didn't know that was happening.
Until the moratorium ends.
And they say they're extending that. This also applies. So until the end of January. So I didn't know it even applied in the beginning. But so pretty much a bank comes in, they foreclose on you, but they can't kick you out.
Yeah.
They can't evict you, right? So now, like, this is nuts, and I'm not saying nuts in a way that like they shouldn't be doing this, but I'm saying nuts in a way that, so we have people that haven't been making their payments. That affects the banks, the people that are holding those loans. They haven't been making payments. Now they get foreclosed on, and the banks can't sell the house because they can't get rid of the borrower.
Well, it's just like somebody that's renting to a tenant that quits paying. You can't evict them. So
right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, because it's the whole eviction shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You threw me off. I was like, wait, what? We're not talking about tenants.
But I mean, the FHFA, the article we kind of skipped over, it's no surprise that home prices have drastically increased, that now the FHA raises loan limit by nearly $25,000, and that's basically like you can't get an FHA loan on a $1 million house.
Yeah.
So they've now raised that to $356,000, up roughly 25 grand from the 331 that it was last year. So that's a byproduct of these low interest rates and this housing boom we're having, that they have to increase that as well. And I mean, really, what's the end of it? It's like, inventory or the only way it can solve itself and normalize is more inventory needs to come to the market, or, well, I mean, that's the only way, or buyers leave. Well, right now with these super low mortgage rates, nobody's really talking about any kind of mortgage rates rising anytime soon. And the regulatory burden of home builders to build homes is extremely high. So it's kind of like you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's like, it could be this way for quite some time until something happens. I don't see them taking the regulatory burden down off of builders, going backwards on the regulations they put on them and the cost to build a home. So the only way is interest rates have to rise, and that drives buyers out, or there's just so little inventory that buyers get burned out. But even then, it's like a good house gets put on the market and the rest is trash. That good house is going to be gone in no time flat. So I mean, it's a good time to be a home owner. It's difficult to buy property right now because, I mean,
well, a homeowner, in what regard? Like, we just talked about how it sucks to be a homeowner if you're paying the prices that you're paying for a house that does need maybe
a homeowner, not a home buyer. Difference. I was meaning like it's not a good time to be a
not
buyer.
A new homeowner.
No, yeah, it's somebody that's like owns a home, lived in there for a couple of years, and even
I gotcha.
Like, because I'm sure
if you would have bought a house pre-COVID, you'd be fine because pre-COVID we were updating.
I mean,
all of our houses to a
10% increase year over year on stuff. So yeah, it's basically a good time to be like a homeowner that already owns homes. I mean, it's difficult to be a buyer right now because inventory is so low that if you're an investor trying to find property, it's very difficult. I mean, capital asset pricing model put on here. So if one can low touch rehab and retail, does that mean that an investor on average will have to purchase a distressed property at a higher price? Yes, that's exactly what that means. And you have to be very cautious doing that, because if the market does reverse, what are you going to do? Because now you paid a high price, prices came down because your margins are squeezed, that if 3 to 6 months go down the road and then things change drastically, you're kind of stuck with the property at that time. So that makes it very difficult. So you have to be more due diligence when if you're just going to do light touch rehab, you need to be very careful of what it is that you are buying to make sure that you don't turn into somebody like Tommy says, little capital to control the home, leverage landlords with little cash to address deferred maintenance.
Well,
or if you turn into a property, it doesn't cash flow, and then you're stuck with this property that's just, you can't sell it because you bought it too high. Even though you rent it, there isn't a cash flow to work on these deferred maintenance, and it sucks.
That we met with an investor this week, right? He came by, he just came across us, I believe, like a few weeks ago, a month ago or so, and he bought a rental property, and then he sent me an email. He's like, "Hey, I would love for you to let me know, what do you think about this property I bought?" First thing, I mean, granted, the guy didn't know who we were or anything, but one thing that we always say is ask for advice before you buy the house. Now, after you bought it, you're in it now.
Yeah.
But he sent me all the information. It's way outside on the West Texas.
I thought you say West San Antonio, like, dude, bro, it's like way west.
No, it's West Texas. So I don't know the area very well. So he sent me all the information, and I'm just looking at just the numbers that he sent me. And it's exactly the scenario that you're talking about, right? The house is appraised. I don't remember exact numbers, but it was like appraised at 140. He paid like 130 for it. It needs work. Rents. He got a property manager. He said the property manager estimated rents between 900 and 1,000. I'm like,
well, it's only a town of like 15,000 people too.
Yeah, but I'm like 900 and 1,000. That's a big range. I was like, that's a 10%, difference for if you're renting at $1,000. Like usually when we estimate our rents, we're like, $50 or $25. Like maybe we can push $50 or $25. We're not estimating rents like, oh, it could be $100 more. It's like, well, you got to nail that down. So as I'm looking at what his PITI, right, his principal, interest, taxes, and insurance are, and what the possible cash flow is, I was like, you can't even afford the property manager. I was like, with the property manager, you're barely breaking even, if that. And that's not even to talk about, anything happens to the property or you have a turnover or anything like that. So he's like, so what do I do? I'm like, well, you're in it now. And this is something that he says, so I did bad. I'm like, well, okay. I can't say you did bad because real estate, and this is something that we always say, real estate over the course of 10 years always goes up. Yeah. If you have a loan on it and you've had it rented out, the loan's been getting paid down, you've built up equity, you've hopefully gotten any level of appreciation, even in, where the hell ever this property is in West Texas, there's still got to be some form of appreciation, especially with inflation alone.
Well, and even then you have the option to switching to owner finance. You have other creative strategies you can do.
No, but beyond that, what I'm saying, like just as a rental, just in the rental space of itself, is just saying, if you hold it long enough, it'll eventually make sense, right? But did you do a bad job? It's not something I would have bought, right? But it's what we talk about. We've had investors that they have their style of investing. We've worked with investors that they want damn near brand new houses. They don't even care if it cash flows because they have reserves. They understand the things. They just want a house that for the next 10 years, they don't got to put a dime into it. It's in a great area. It's a great house. It's brand new. It's at a rent market.
Well, they have the capital reserves. Like say, I have enough income coming from somewhere that the opportunity cost of just sitting in a bank isn't worth it. At least this way I can put it into a brand new house. My risk level is extremely low. There's a chance of future appreciation. The cash is coming back with some form of return to where it's like, it just makes sense.
So you have those investors, and then you have other investors like us, right? That we want at least 20% equity after it's renovated, right? When it's ready to go, we want at least 20% equity. We want, $300-$400 in cash flow. We'll take a little less depending if there's appreciation, whatever we see on the market, But that's the other end, right? So I'm like, you got to figure out what type of investor you are. If you have the capital and everything, by all means, I don't think that those investors that buy with little equity and little cash flow are stupid by any means. Like, that's their strategy. There's people that build massive portfolios doing that. You understand? So it's like, you got to figure out, obviously, the vibe that I think we both got from him is that he regretted buying it, because he realized that's like, yeah, I'm not trying to do that kind of investing because maybe he doesn't afford it. That's not the type that he wants. But the point to all of this is that you still have to be careful, but you have to figure out what your strategy is.
Yeah.
While, yes, in theory, we're all saying we all want 20+% equity. We all want $400 cash flow, 100%. But you got to be a real investor, a full-time investor to find those deals. You got to be able to find lucrative deals. You got to be able to manage renovations to keep that cost down. You got to be able to manage the property, understand property managers. You know, you got to be very, very well educated in the real estate space in order to get that. Yeah. And if you're not, it's okay. Now figure out where you need to come in, right?
Yeah. So Andrew Middlestat puts in here is like, if COVID-19...
Andrew!
If COVID-19 has taught me anything, it's cemented the fact that cash and cash flow is king and equity doesn't pay the bills. It only helps if you can hang on for that the long term. Because it's right, like, yes,
100%.
we're all, if you own a house, like, you're building great equity right now, but it's also that cash is locked in that property until it's sold. It's nothing until you actually sell that property and turn it into cash, to where what sustains those properties long term? Cash flow. It's like you need to have those cash reserves to maintain that property long term, to where it's like, you don't, again, in a time like this, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to take any of that cash flow. I'm going to put it into reserve until this is all over, because we don't know if it's going to get worse. Like, yes, they're talking about vaccines, they're talking about all the stuff, but like, we're still a long ways from that. And like, you still have a lot of economic fallout from that stuff once we do stop foreclosing or can start foreclosing. We
you
can
mean
stop
if we stop.
Yeah, if we stop. Everyone live for free. You get it free. You can live for free.
Well,
but back to my point, they're saying like, hold on to that cash flow for the time being until it's over, because if a tenant loses his job and is now stuck in that house and you can't get rid of them, you can't move them out. So now you need the cash flow to maintain your mortgage payment, because the bank don't care if you can't make your payment.
Well, and people, investors always have this misconception. And if you're listening, I truly hope that you don't think this way. But a lot of people think it's simple. And these are people that I believe have never done anything in the real estate space, which is why they're thinking this way, is, screw it, I'll kick them out. Screw it, I'll sue them. Something. It's like, you don't understand. It's not that simple. Sometimes the answer is not as simple as I will kick them out or I will sue them. You understand? Like, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why you need to make sure that when you buy, that's why the saying goes, right? You make money when you buy. And why do a lot of people want that 20% equity? Is because in case you bought, something happens and you need to sell, at least that's giving you enough of a spread for closing costs, agent fees, any concessions, anything that you need to do to be able to sell and at least take care of that mortgage. Yeah. Right. So a lot of times it's not that you want 20% equity because you want to have 20% equity. You want it because in case something happens, you have a way out.
You have a cushion.
Exactly.
I can undercut the market. Say, the sales price is $200,000. I can afford to sell it at 180 if I need to, because now it's like the market doesn't drop that fast overnight. And it's like it can come down pretty quick, but if you see that coming and you need to liquidate, it's like, you know what, I'll take a $20,000 bath on it because I still get 20 grand out of it and I don't have that debt anymore.
100%.
And so you're
that is something that at some point starts affecting the real estate market prices, is when investors start saying that, and they start dropping the prices just to liquidate because they have maybe, stocks that are being called or whatever is happening somewhere else, or their business is taking a hit, where they start bringing down home prices, especially when so many investors have bought houses since the last crash. That affects home prices, because if you have houses that are selling for $250 and then all of a sudden you have an investor that comes in and he's like, I don't give a damn, I need to sell this now, I'm putting it at $230. That affects the price of your home.
It's happened right now. I got an email from I had an investor come from Houston that wanted to see a house or see some houses. I showed him one. They didn't like that one. We moved past it. But I just got an email from that agent last night saying like, hey, you recently showed this house and it's listed at $260. I was like, we're going to be dropping the price to $220,000 because and it's a flip house. You can tell the seller lost her job. And she's dropping the price from $260 to $220 to liquidate, to get out from underneath that thing. And this is like, because the seller lost her job. I'm like,
here in San Antonio.
Yeah. I was like, that happens. And it, like, I don't think they'll have a problem selling it, because it was a decent house for what of the ones we saw, and taking that $40,000 drop. But like, yeah, things like that can happen for sure.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into a little bit of why we cover so much politics, because bad policy decisions.
Oh yeah, okay.
Lead to bad policy decisions lead to,
What happens when
how
you-
it affects your real estate market, how it affects your income, how it affects employment, right? So let's talk about what HP, that little technology
tiny company
with
that
like
does like $7.6 billion in profit
55,000
a year.
employees across the world.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So I mean, this is like, I mean, it talks. We talk a lot of crap on California, but it's also one of the
rightfully
things.
so.
But it's just one of those that it's just like, yes, this is what happens when you vote this way. You vote people into power that believe this way. This is what happens. So HP, Hewlett Packard, the coronavirus pandemic has given a number of tech companies and prominent Silicon figures an excuse to exit California. Because before, what was holding people there? We got all this office space here. We don't want to send all these people home. I don't want to like move all these people over here. But then all of a sudden, when everyone's like, "Yep, work from home," and all of a sudden they have to force to transition their business overnight, and they're like, "Holy crap, that worked pretty well." Now we have these really expensive, massive office buildings, corporate campuses sitting here that it's like, I don't need that anymore. I don't need all this office space. Like, okay, we can move. So HP was one of the original Silicon success stories besides like Apple. I think they were founded like
The original. I think they were talking about. I was
like
reading that
83.
HP was pretty much what, like they have a plaque, I think, on the garage where HP started or some shit, saying like this is where Silicon Valley was founded.
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
It just says the article I read is like it's one of the first companies' success stories that come out of Silicon Valley, and they're moving to Houston. And now bear with me here because this is kind of I tried to really shorten a lot of this article that I found, but a lot of it was just really good stuff. So I'm going to kind of quote it. It was so if California's anti-job policies, its high taxes, regulatory, I don't know what that word is like. Not even I don't know. Regulatory enforcement and blackout-inducing energy policies can chase out the company that launched Silicon Valley. Is any business, large or small, immune from pressure to move? Unless a company must directly serve the California market, such as a fast food chain, the answer is a resounding no. And there's no sign that things are about to turn around soon. After the 2020 elections, Democrats retained the supermajorities in both legislative chambers while controlling every statewide office. In effect, California is a one-party, anti-free enterprise state.
Anti-free.
So Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a statement noting that we are excited that Hewlett Packard Enterprise has chosen to call Texas home. Hewlett Packard Enterprises joins more than 50 Fortune 500 company headquarters in the Lone Star State, including 22 in Houston alone. So that's why they moved to Houston, because there's 22 of them already over there. Business relocation expert Joe Vranich, a former Californian, produced a study in late 2018 showing 13,000 businesses left California over the past 8 years. Vanich's findings are echoed in the Census Bureau's state-to-state migration estimates, which show California consistently losing residents to other states with lower taxes, a trend that has continued for some 20 years. Through mid-2018, California saw a net loss of 190,122 people who moved to other states. Very small percentage considering California has 55 million people or something like that. But it shows that, hey, they are starting to lose some people, where Texas on the other side has gained a lot of people. For the hundreds of employees who do move to Texas, and so this is where going back to several articles we've talked about since like almost the very beginning. So from the hundreds of employees who do move to Texas, they'll want to get a head start on securing a moving van. The rush to leave California has led to a severe shortage of commercial movers, with California's stringent regulations stopping firms from meeting demand and leading to the proliferation of shady operators. So even they're trying to regulate the moving companies to make it hard for the people to even move the states. Even a U-Haul truck can be tough to get, with one-way rates from San Jose to Houston for a 26-foot truck clocking in at $5,569, more than 3 times the relocation cost to move to the west of $1,688. So there's always that, for investors, they say, you want to see where people are moving? Just go to U-Haul and start saying how much does it cost from a place to get from California to Austin, California, Houston, and then do it reverse, go in the other direction. Like, where are people moving? And that's where it shows that yeah, there's a huge exodus of people leaving those states, and now you have multiple companies leaving. And the article ended with the former Silicon Valley founder of tech firms Palantir and Adipar took his $3.6 billion venture capital firm to Texas, writing in the Wall Street Journal 2 weeks ago that I love California, but I had to leave.
Yeah.
So it just shows it's like when you get these kind of people in here, when you have a state that's run that way, that it's like, wow, man, we can't keep our finances in order. So let's just raise taxes. Let's tax commercial people, commercial businesses. Let's raise corporate taxes. Like, and now you have their ability to leave. You're like, yeah, your big players are going to be like, bye, we're out.
That's what I think is very telling with this is HP being such a massive company, moving to Texas or just moving out of California. Do you think that's going to start kind of a trend of other major companies saying like, okay, so it can be done? Because we've all heard of Elon Musk wanting to leave. But the issue is that what I think is with Elon Musk, Facebook, Apple, these massive companies is that they're probably thinking about the logistics of moving out of California, right? Just moving their whole infrastructure, everything out of the
employees
state.
too. They're like, just that right there. It's like, hey, we're moving, but it's like, ah, man, I can't get my employees to move out of here because they've regulated the moving companies to just stifle the.
Well, it might be something where they're like, that's fine. We'll pay for your move. You know, we'll fund it, whatever. If you're willing to relocate, I mean, I don't know if looking at it from a capitalistic point of view is that. I don't know if they would even need to, you know, unless they have like key players that they need to come with them. But everybody else, maybe they can get that labor here. You understand? Yeah. Like there's plenty of people here in the tech space and everything. So maybe that would happen, you know, that they just move here and employment goes even further down because it's like, well, now you're just bringing. I'm trying to find how many jobs California created in. No, not California. HP created in California. How many jobs this is going to affect? So if anybody can do that research and check it out, put it in the comments.
I mean,
I'm very interested in that.
I doubt it's small.
Right.
I mean, it's a pretty large.
It's going to affect all
but
that.
I mean, to your point, to where like, if like this article says, like if companies have the ability, they will do it. And especially now, like this pandemic shows like, hey, there's no better time to relocate everybody because everybody's staying at home as it is. Yeah. So they're like, you know what, we're out. I mean, we've covered several companies that are leaving, like Stripe. They're just straight up saying like, you know what,
we'll give you 20 grand.
We'll give you 20 grand to leave the state. And then I would think it was Stripe and Twitter, I believe both said like we are allowing people to work from home indefinitely. So now that people say like if they don't like where they're at, they can move because their job allows them to be fluid. And going back to the previous article of the housing inventory, it said HomeSnap's agents reporting more homebuyers are searching in rural areas outside major city limits because they aren't commuting to the office anymore and are looking for more space. So that is something that is going to be a trend, I think, from like these very dense, highly populated areas like you have on the east and the west coast, like, and I mean even in downtown cores of big cities, it's like, you know what, I don't need to live in this environment anymore. I want more space.
Well, and that's kind of going back to the whole point of why I would cover politics so much and why, you know, people say, oh, you guys are Republicans, right? I'm not. And if you're trying to label, I think that's the issue that we have with lazy people trying to just pick a side. To me, I don't believe in picking a side. I believe in thinking for yourself, right? Yeah, I don't consider myself a Republican because there's a lot of shit that they've been doing, especially lately, that I'm like, you out of your damn mind. I mean, and what is a Republican anymore? All the dumb shit that Trump has done with, you know, the stimulus and all this stupid shit that it hasn't even been done correctly. It's like, I thought you were a conservative. Like, where's all this crap coming from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, power grab.
Yeah. So I'm not right. I'm not left. I'm just using my brain to make up my mind and make decisions. But this is where policies and politics affects a state tremendously, because if all these other,
I mean, and who you vote for, because like in my conversation I was on is like to these people, that these companies that are leaving, and bringing their employees with them. I mean, Texas, we're a friendly people. We're a friendly state. Like, I have several friends that come to Texas. Like, man, everyone's just so friendly here. You just drive, like, driving down the road, people like actually wave at you. They talk to you, hold the door and say, "Oh, here you go. Thanks, man." Like, people are kind of friendly. So not to say like people can come. It's like, but remember why you're having to leave the place, because California is a beautiful state. Like, I've been there. Like, I love that place. Like, to go hang out on the boardwalks, the beaches, everything like that. Like, it is awesome. The weather, you'd love it. It's like 50 to 70 degrees there year round. Like, it never gets hot, never gets too cold either.
No, I still like seasons.
Well, you're an idiot.
But hey, that's offensive now. Don't trigger me.
But that's just saying, like, remember why you're having to leave and look back of what caused you having to move and leave that state. As like, you're coming somewhere, you're to a new state that thinks very differently. Basically from California and Texas, the only two I'm comparing, of like what we believe and how our state's set up and why your company is moving here and why your paycheck actually went up as far as your net savings every month because of the way this state is running, the way these people are, the affordability. Yeah. So keep that stuff in mind.
So on that point, I haven't driven to Little California in a while, Austin. So I don't know if it's still there, but for the longest time going up 35, there's a big billboard that says, "Don't California my Texas." Yeah. Is that still there? Because you drive up too. But we always find it funny. But do you think all the people that are leaving California because they realize that it's like, shit, I can't afford to live here. I can't, I can't find work. I can't afford anything, whatever it is. Do you think they're still going to vote blue here? Or are they going to start realizing and kind of putting two together and saying, okay, hold on. I know I'm a Democrat, which is fine, whatever you want to call yourself, but those policies have not been working. So maybe, I moved to Texas. Like, do you think it's going to turn Texas blue? I mean, we're already seeing a huge shift in that direction. We're pretty much there. But do you think that all these people coming are going to keep voting blue and bring Texas like California? Or do you think that they're going to start realizing why they left?
Like you said before, like, what's a Republican, what's a Democrat anymore? I think they still would vote blue or Democrat, but I think you have a different type of Democrat here. It's not one for one. I think there's different policies and different things. Like, we're not the ticket that a Democrat would run on here in Texas would be different than what you're running on in California as far as like the policies that you push. So I would think that it probably still will, because I mean it's a shift. You just look at the trends in the data that our major metros have over time started to turn more and more and more Democratic, and like your major metros typically do that across time. But it's just, I think it's going to shift what the politicians run on as far as what they say they are for and are against as far as their policies go.
So you're saying that a Democrat in Texas is not the same as a Democrat in California as far as a politician goes. They're going to run. They're not going to be as extreme or as drastic because here they know they're going to lose more if they go that drastic.
Yeah, I think that's kind of basically what I'm saying.
Okay. Oh, I would like to hear what you guys think. I want you to put a thumbs up if you think Texas is going blue, and put a thumbs down if you think it's going to stay red or get further red. So thumbs up if you think it's going blue, thumbs down if it's going red. Let me see what we can kind of do a little voting that way and see what
okay.
What this looks like.
While you're doing that, we'll go to the next topic of. And this is kind of something we've been seeing, is all these people have been forced to work from home. And it's like, now that a lot of people have been doing this since March, we're talking 9 months now. But now studies are showing that 3 out of 4 workers want to continue working in an office in the future, as they don't like this staying from home all the time. They like the camaraderie of going and traveling and getting out and meeting their colleagues and having that collaboration there. The article goes on to say, despite all the ways the coronavirus pandemic has normalized working from home, 3 in 4 workers hope to return to an office at some point in the future, according to a recent survey of over 2,000 office workers worldwide by the commercial real estate firm JLL. And it's not even like 3 want to go all the way home. So roughly 1/4 of office workers hope to return to the office full time after the health risks of the virus subside. Half of them want to do a hybrid where they're able to have flexibility to be able, they can work from home 2 days a week. And then 1 in 4 workers hope to have work from home arrangements full time and permanently adjust. So it's not one of those things where we're saying, oh, the market shifted, everyone's working from home now. It's like for the rest of the time, it's like, no, it's not going to be that way, because I think companies in themselves realize they have to have a given environment their employees want to be in. I mean, working for a company, you have to look at their benefits, their work environments, and things like that attract good talent. So what does a good talent want? Obviously, they have to be flexible to where they say, if people want to come to the office, they can. If they don't want to come to the office, they don't have to be. So I think over time, I think you're going to see people returning to the office, because working from home all the time, like, I don't like staying at home all the time. Or 75% of them don't want to stay home all the time.
75%.
75% of your workers don't want to stay home all the time.
So because it's interesting, because when this all first started, we saw a huge shift in commercial space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of companies started downsizing. They started realizing how amazing this is because their overhead went way down. But this is kind of going to the argument that you and I talk quite frequently about, is we have them talking a lot about stimulus, the next stimulus package, and don't worry, stimulus, stay home. We'll give you the money. Stay home. We got to get this COVID. Stay home. It's the long-term effects of those policies. Like, I think what we're talking about is not monetary issue. I think we went past that. Right? I think we're past the monetary being an issue of when we first hit, everything was monetary. And don't get me wrong, it's still monetary for a lot of people losing their jobs. But I'm thinking it's more of an issue as far as psychological. You understand? You're staying home and maybe you are getting help, right? You are getting, or maybe you have savings or whatever. But it gets to a point where you just start getting that cabin fever, right? We talked about it at the last Coffee with the Johns, that, you start losing your skills. You start losing, your abilities to work and everything.
I mean,
because
that's what studies show. It's like you have the latency of like you fall off.
You fall off because you're not working. It's like everything. You stop going to the gym for a month or two, and you go back. You're gonna feel the difference, right? You got to keep that muscle working. And a lot of people are staying home and they're not working that muscle. They're binging on, Netflix and all this. And we've seen like Netflix, Disney Plus, everybody, like their viewerships have gone through the roof.
Skyrocketed, yeah.
Because that's what people are doing. They're just sitting home. Facebook usage has been through the roof as well. People are on Facebook,
I mean, you had the election this year too that brought a lot of people, a lot of attention to. I think that's what drove a lot of more people to the polls, is like, you're sitting at home, what are you going to do? It's like, well, I guess there's this political thing that we can watch and follow.
Social media didn't give you an option. Anytime you open up anything, did you vote? Are you voting? Did you vote? Did you go vote?
Are you voting? Are you registered? Like, here's an easy way to register. Like, good Lord.
At this point, like, listen, if I don't know how to vote, like, just give up already.
Well, I mean, we can move this on to the next topic of there is still an election going on. And I've told you this, that I'm glad I do not live in the state of Georgia, because that is where this whole thing is really coming to a head, to where like you agree with the election results, you don't agree with elections, whatever. Let's just go with what is presumed at the current time, that the Democrats are going to maintain the House. They're going to take the White House, and that leaves the Senate left. Mm-hmm. And now you have 50 Republicans holding their seats. You have 48 Democrats, and you have 2 left to further, because there's 100 senators in total. If there's a split or a tie in the Senate, then it goes to the vice president to break that tie in the Senate as far as passing policies. So now, if the Democrats win those 2 states in Georgia, then that means they have 50 senators Democrat, 50 senators Republican, to where if you were voting party lines on certain policies that the White House and the House want to have passed, that means the VP can split that, and they essentially hold not a supermajority, but they hold all 3 branches. If they vote party lines, they can get whatever they want passed. So that's why this whole election has this portion. It's really coming down to that specific January 5th runoff. And that's creating a lot of fuss about people trying to influence that election. People saying, I think Andrew Yang came out, the former nominee for the Democrats, said like, hey, we're moving to Georgia so we can help win the state. Like, he's literally leaving the state. I think we talked about this last time, leaving California to move to Georgia so he can vote in that election, which I think is wrong. But then this article goes out to say that Georgia's top election official says he is opening investigation into whether third-party groups are trying to register people from other states to illegally vote in Georgia's twin January 5th elections. And now listen, this is where like, okay, they're opening. I thought they were just saying they're opening it into one part organization. He goes on to say that we have opened an investigation to a group called America Votes, who is sending absentee ballot applications to people at addresses where they have not lived since 1994. Vote Forward, who attempted to register a dead Alabama voter to vote in Georgia. The New Georgia Project, who sent voter registration applications to New York City. Operation New Voter Registration Georgia. That's a kind of an interesting name, who is telling college students in Georgia that they can change their residency to Georgia and then change it back after the election. And it's just like, oh my God, talk about trying to influence an election. Like, that is just crazy. And his office goes on to say they have 23 investigations going on. And office has 23 investigators working on 250 open investigations with credible claims of illegally voting and election law violations. To where, like, I'm glad I do not, because I remember to hear of, like, dude, like the amount of political advertisements I was getting leading up to November 2nd or whatever it was. Like, dude, I think one day I got 9 different pamphlets in the mail, 4 of them for the exact same candidate.
I remember you sending us pictures every time you get one.
Yeah, like, it's just like, dude, look, it's like I get so many of these things, to where I wouldn't want to be living in that state, because I'm sure it is just absolutely a nightmare to like how much money and influence is being trying to drilled into that state for these 2 elections, to where I'm sure it's consuming the media, it's consuming your mailbox. You can't go anywhere without somebody talking about it.
What side do you think is manipulating it?
God, I have no idea. At this point,
but does it show like, where are you getting the stats from? Is it showing like it's coming more from the left, from the right? Where do they want those seats to lean towards? Especially this Andrew Yang crap. Like that's bullshit.
I read another article somewhere that showed that what is it? The Democrats outspent Republicans in major swing states 3-1.
They always do.
So
you got California money that always tries to influence
and stuff like that. Yeah. So like, if you follow that and these investigations and stuff like that in a state that traditionally in the South voted red, like Trump won Georgia in 2016 by over 5%, and he lost it this time by 12,000 votes across 4 million votes or however many people voted. So very, very slim margins to where they are trying to make up that ground. And like, you ask like, who has more to lose in this? The Republicans have more to lose 100%. Because the Democrats have an open ticket to, if they vote party lines, has the ability to vote and get past whatever they want to get past.
Well, do you think that's going to happen? Because I believe you had put an article in here for last time that we didn't quite hit, but we're starting to see now that it's, it seems, because every time I'm hearing like crazy things about the election, seems that Biden has it, he's going to take it. He's going to be the president. We're starting to see a divide within the Democrats. Yeah. We're starting to see a divide within, the far left, and everybody else, like the Sanders group. What do they call it? The clan of 4 or something like that. The squad, whatever, that little dictatorship that they're trying to form. But you have them, pushing far left, and they're saying, hold on, we've lost a lot of seats because you guys are going way too crazy.
Some people come out, it's like they lost. I don't remember where it was at, but it was a Democrat that won her seat narrowly, and she came out and said like, never ever mention the word socialism in any form at all.
But democratic socialism.
And they could have said like, we lost a lot of good people because that narrative was being pushed. Yeah. But I'm a firm believer that Clinton led to Bush led to Obama led to Trump, and Trump's leading to Biden. Like because of those policies, they led to the next president, and they lead up into it. So like right now, the Democratic base is vibrant in saying like, this guy Trump has got to get out of the White House. So they kind of unified all together. They got their candidate approved. Now they're saying, but now we want this stuff. And they're like, the far left wants, they say, we helped unify to get you in the presidency. It's because of our base. We got this guy in here now. You need to come out and perform and pass all these things that we want to pass.
Right.
But now that they're in, they're like, whoa, hold on. Just, yes, we appreciate your help, but that's crazy talk. We're not going to give you all that stuff. So now they're coming around the next election season. They see that they didn't get the stuff passed, and now they're disincentivized to vote again. And the other side is mad that somebody got a lot of stuff passed, and that's kind of how politics
so
around.
Playing this game, and I would like to hear what you guys think in the comment section. But playing this game a little bit is, with that being said, let's say Georgia goes and it finishes 50-50, right? Do you really feel that you're going to have what we've been seeing, where it's like Republicans vote Republican, Democrats vote Democrats? Or do you feel that if, Kamala, from what we've seen, she leans further right than left than Biden does? Biden is a little more like Obama, a little more like
moderate.
Yeah, again, a little, not, I wouldn't say center. He's still kind of crazy with some of the stuff he wants to do, but not that crazy, right? Not something that's going to tank the economy. But like Kamala is very far left. She supported Bernie. She supported all those things that they want to do. So, and she is the vice president, and she is, a firecracker. Like, she's not like Joe Biden was with Obama, where nobody knew what the hell Joe did, right? Like, I think we're going to hear a lot from her. I think she's going to be a very strong
kind of like
influence.
your Dick Cheney from the 2000s, the Bush administration. You hear a lot about, you look back on it and you hear it now, it's like, yeah, Cheney did a lot.
Well, Cheney was a different type, I think. But what I'm going at is, do you think that it would still be that the Democrats run everything, right? Let's say they take it and they run everything and it's going to be that way? Or do you think that a lot of Democrats are going to be like, hold on, no, that's crazy. We can't, and kind of cross the line a little bit as far as maybe having more of a stagnant 2 more years than anything else, where nothing's really going to get done because the policies are too extreme?
I mean, I think they'll still get the things done, but I don't think you're going to see this massive shift in saying, oh, let's pack the courts in the filibuster and do all this stuff, because like they said, they can't lose anybody. And even the Republicans, when they were passing some of the stuff that they passed, like, they lost 1, maybe 2, but they had 53 seats. So they could afford to lose a few people. To where now it's like, if it's 50-50, like, no side can lose a single person.
Right.
To where you look at the down ballot voting of this last election, to where I think it, like, especially the state level and the GOP and the national level, as the House was expecting to gain, I think, like 5 or 10 seats, and they wound up losing like 8 seats. To where, like, they have even a smaller majority in the House now, to where, like, they look back and say, like, the article I was reading was saying, like, you look at the narrative that was pushed that got a lot of these people elected, as like they lost, to where, like, when you look at the state level, I think it was like they gained 173 House seats, or 179 House seats across the nation. The GOP I'm talking about, they gained 40 Senate seats across the nation, and they now control both chambers of the state legislatures in 31 states. So it's like they actually got creamed when you look down ballot voting because of some of the narratives they've been pushing. So that's where I think they're going to kind of back off on some of this stuff and not try to shove these things through. I mean, it was frontline news because they were is what was getting eyeballs. It was what gaining them power, getting these people that they needed to get out and vote the way they wanted. Yeah. But now they're like, yeah, but we can't. We can't pass that stuff. Some of your moderate Democrats, if we try to push this stuff through, in 2 years we would get destroyed, and in some of the moderate states. So.
Well, that could be a little bit of good news, as far as we're not going to see any crazy policies, anything that too extreme, at least not yet, right? That could, for business owners, it's pretty much the worry that we all have, is the stuff that Biden has said that he wants to do against business owners, right?
Yeah.
The increases of all the taxes, especially for real estate, talking about getting rid of 1031 exchanges, all these things that were like, hold on, if you start hurting the business owners, you see what happens in California. Like, it's not going to be good for the state, for the country. So, hopefully that doesn't happen.
It's a give and take thing, to where, like, I do agree. Regardless of what happened in the past, we are where we are now, to where we have a budget deficit of like $3 or $4 trillion this year, to where like that has to be paid at some point.
Right.
So it has to be in a combination of eliminating some government bloat and government waste and increasing some taxes, where I think it's a give and take in both, where they've only proposed like, we're just going to raise all these taxes to pay for all this stuff. Yes, you can say that now, but when it comes to getting, what is it? There's like 400 people in the House, 100 in the Senate, and the president. Like, you got to get 600 people, or was that 500 some people to agree to change that stuff. Yeah. To where it is going to be hard, and that's where I think it is going to be. This is why I don't think I'd ever enter politics, because it's a constant bickering back and forth. To where these people do have to work with each other. To where it's not, the media does a great job to make it say like these people hate each other. It's left and right. There's no one in between. But these people have been politicians for years. They know nothing gets done unless there is some compromise somewhere along the lines. Just like the next thing we were going to talk about is this stimulus package that's been just kind of this ever floating thing for the past couple months leading up to the election. Nothing was going to get done. They were staying like, we're staying put here. And I think at that point they were trying to get votes. They were trying to get people to come to them.
The way I look at the stimulus package talk and everything, I look at the carrot and the stick kind of situation, right? Where it's like they just hold that carrot in front of you, but you're never going to get it. It's just like, oh, but if you do this, then we'll go ahead and do it. Oh, but if you do that, then we'll go ahead. No. Now you need to, because what's this next package? Now it's down to like 900 billion.
908 billion.
When before they wouldn't even pass one that was 1.8 trillion. Now they've gone down. The Democrats, I believe, went down to 900.
Well, the first one was like 3.1 trillion. Then it went to 2.2, and the Republicans wanted to do 500 billion more targeted. And then they just talked back and forth. And I think at that point it was politically motivated to get votes because you had an election coming up. I still don't think anything's going to get passed until after the January 5th elections to know which way
runoff.
Yeah, the runoffs. I don't think anything's really going to get passed, because if they do win that, it means now at that point, come January 20th, when everyone gets inaugurated, it's like, well, now we can clean sweep and do whatever we want as far as the stimulus package goes. But it is one of those right now that the economy is reeling. I don't think it can survive without more damage being done to it that far. So now this new package they're talking about, it comes out of a bipartisan group that's designed to help release gridlock in the political environment if something happens like these stimulus packages. So they unveiled this $908 billion coronavirus relief deal. And in it is the bipartisan agreement allocates about $300 billion in funding for small businesses, $240 billion in aid for state and local governments, $180 billion to extend boosted unemployment benefits at $300 per week for 4 months, and temporary moratoriums on COVID liability lawsuits to allow states enough time to design their own laws. It notably does not include a second stimulus check like everyone was saying leading up to this, that, oh, we all agree on a second stimulus check to every American under a certain level. So that's gone. One thing that it's striking to me was like, I see $908 billion is like, oh, great, another $1 trillion to our deficit, but that's not how it's being allocated. So Mitt Romney is quoted saying, "It's simply unacceptable for us to not help in these circumstances," and noting that the price tag includes $560 billion in repurposed funding from the March CARES Act. So, and just $348 billion in new funding. I happen to be a deficit hawk, but the time to borrow money may be the only time to borrow money is when there is a crisis, and this is a crisis. So out of the $2.2 trillion CARES Act that was passed in March, they still have over half a trillion dollars of that money left. So they're not adding another $908 billion. They're only adding $348 to what was already is allocated in some other form, and now they're bringing it back and putting it into this new package and repurposing it and making it a little more targeted and not just so much just a giant slush fund for everybody.
So with all the stuff that we've been having, all the cries for more money and everything, there is still $500 billion from the original CARES Act that was never...
$560 billion that wasn't spent.
Why?
Well, because of the way they purposed it. They said they set this much money this much money aside for, say, small business relief. Well, not enough businesses applied for that money
or
to drain it.
qualified,
applied, qualified, whatever it may be.
Well, the reason I'm asking is it seems nuts to me because you're having a ton of businesses that have gotten destroyed, especially in the restaurant bar space. They've gotten destroyed because of all this, because they were forced to shut down. Not that they were destroyed because they had terrible marketing skills or anything like that. They were forced to shut down. So,
but that's what I'm saying. Okay, so that money might have been drained to zero, and there's no money left because they did run out of money. They had to get more, and then it ran out again. But now, say this $560 billion was for. It could be. I'm just trying to think of an example.
But they didn't say what it was allocated to.
Because they didn't say what.
What I'm saying is I find it nuts that we've had that. We've had businesses that people have put all their life savings into have been wiped out. Businesses, they're not coming back. Even if they open everything up today, they still won't come back because they're so behind. Yeah. So you've had $560 billion sitting there,
but they can't touch it. That's sort of like the way laws are written. So it's like this money is written to where they can't nobody can say, hey, let's just move this over here. And he takes legislative action to do that because they said they allocated in the first package $500 billion.
Doesn't the Congress control the budgets?
But they have to vote on it.
But they're all Democrat. They all wanted stimulus. If you have 560, why not use it?
Because they're arguing of where it goes. So say there's $560 million spread across between military, coronavirus research, distribution, and that money across it could be allocated in 15 different areas.
I tell you, that's the shit about politics of why it makes me sick. Why, a lot of times when people talk about, big government and all this, it's they're inefficient as crap. Yeah. They don't know how to manage money. They don't know anything about business. They don't know anything about the common people. Not to, in a negative way it is. I guess it is. But Joe Biden, being in politics for 47 years, what the hell does he know about your everyday American? You understand? Where can these people even relate to the everyday American? Yet they're writing the policies that dictate where we're going to go and what we're going to do. And then they're telling you what you can and cannot do. Yeah. It blows my mind.
Yeah. But that's what I said. Yes, all this money's been sitting there and they've been trying to release it, but it's they have to agree to where they can't say, okay, we have this $560 billion, let's take this and put it over here. It's well, yeah, but that doesn't work for our agenda. We only want to put $100 billion into this and 300 of that billion over into this. So, because right now they're only using, of that 560, they're only using 300 billion to fund small businesses through the PPP program. So that's what I said. They're not even using all of it for businesses. So that's just kind of where all of this kind of comes around. So it is something that, where's this going to go? But the second I saw, when I put this article to talk about that day, I saw it that morning, and within 2 hours, Mitch McConnell comes out and says, this is a non-starter. It's oh, come on. Immediately said, we're not talking about this. It's not enough. We want a smaller package. Even though this bipartisan group that's designed to help break gridlock comes out and says, or it designed this package, and it's they've kind of come down, you got to come up, there's some compromise there.
We have a capital asset pricing model. He just commented, the president-elect has never written a check. He has only endorsed checks. But it's just, and it's not even just a knock on just Biden. I use him because he's the only one I know for how many years he's been in there. I haven't done any research, but on both sides, I think 47 years of a politician, I just can't see how you keep touch. And this kind of a little tangent here, but it kind of leads to our issue with gurus, right? With real estate gurus or anything, is that you have these people that succeeded in real estate 15, 20 years ago. They haven't been down in the ground, wholesaling or doing shit like that for years. They probably have a massive team, yet they're coming out with training for 20, 30, 50 grand about how you're going to get started in real estate, when it's you haven't gotten started in real estate for the last 20 years. Yeah. What the hell are you going to teach somebody that's getting started? Yeah. What do you know about that? You understand? That is the thing that bothers me. And I understand that they're oh, well, they have advisors and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work that way, because you can't support a bill, in my opinion, or fight against a bill with enough passion if you don't feel it. Mm-hmm. You understand? Just because somebody tells you what people are struggling, it doesn't make you feel the struggle
it's also
because
one
you
of the
haven't
things-
had it.
It's like, oh, they're like all these Americans are unemployed and stuff like that, and they're holding everything hostage and trying to get a political gain out of it. It's like, but they're still getting paid. Like,
Insane.
yeah,
Well,
and that'll never change to where it's like, oh, if we have this problem, we can cut off senator. Like, no senator would vote to willingly not get paid to do their job. Like,
And now what they're talking about is you have again the far left asking for Biden to forgive student loan debt immediately, right? So I haven't seen any articles on it.
Well,
I'm sure there are articles, but
that's the next two topics.
okay, perfect. So student loan debt.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to forgive student loan, which is billions of dollars.
So
I'm like, that's where does this make sense for anybody?
So, do you have the ability to pull up articles
I have a lot of abilities,
so people can see it on the live stream?
not that ability.
Okay. Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll link this article. It's actually found, so this is actually from between two different articles. One was from Fox Business put it out, and then the other one was from Housing Wire. But Schumer, Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate minority leader for the Democrats, said Biden should enact a plan that he laid out earlier this year alongside Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, under which the president could use executive authority to immediately cancel up to $50,000 of student debt per borrower. Biden has called for forgiving $10,000 in student loan debt as part of a broader coronavirus relief package. And outstanding student loan debt has doubled over the last decade, nearing staggering $1.7 trillion. About 1 in 6 American adults owes money on federal student loan debt, which is the largest amount of non-mortgage debt in the U.S. and has been cited as a major hindrance in people's economic life by Federal Reserve Jerome Powell. He estimated it would provide total forgiveness to more than 75% of borrowers and partial forgiveness for more than 95%. Now, is this going to happen? Who knows? Because by canceling the student loan debt would also add the nation's already ballooning deficit, which totaled a record $3.1 trillion for the 2020 fiscal year. So now, in the Housing Wire article that I found, because they make the argument of how having forgiving student loan debt would give people the ability to buy cars, buy houses, keep more cash in their pocket, and everything. So this article in Housing Wire shows like how many borrowers owe what amount when you looked at it. So
The article's in Housing Wire?
on Housing Wire, correct. And it says distribution. If you scroll about halfway down the page, it says distribution of student loan borrowers by balance.
Did you link the article in here?
In the Trello board, yes.
I'm trying to find it. Where is it?
Or just click on the article and it's right there in the description. Are you trying to put it on the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, I can.
No, not in the chat. I'm trying to show it on the screen.
Oh.
What's the name of the card?
Schumer calls on Biden to cancel student loan
that
debt
one.
with executive order. The topic we're talking about. But halfway down the page it shows a distribution of how much people owe. So in the 5,000 and under, you have 8.5 million. In the 5,000 to 10,000, you have 7.4 million. And at the 10,000 to 25,000, you have 12 million. So if he just alone stroked a pen for $10,000, you would hit, what is that, over 15 million people, Americans. You would eliminate all their student debt, and partial of that 12 million that hold 10 to 25,000, you would have you'd write off a significant portion of those people as well. So it would eliminate a lot of student debt for a lot of people that is taking cash from them, because it's one of the things you can eliminate the debt balance, but if somebody owes a certain amount, their payment doesn't change because it's set under amortization. So you would have to reset the entire loan if you were able to do that. But it would eliminate a lot of people student debt in its entirety, which I was kind of shocked to see those balances that low. I thought a lot of these people were going to own 25, 50 to 100,000 or more in student loan, but it's actually a smaller amount than I originally anticipated. Did you get the article over there?
No.
Okay,
Just
don't
keep going.
mess with it. But going with that,
Yeah.
is the next thing that I found from somebody that I follow and listen to was students say online courses not worth the cost. So a lot of these universities are just saying, everybody, we're doing online classes. You don't come to campus. You study from and work from home. You don't come to campus. You don't get the environment. You don't get the dorms. You don't get anything. But the thing was, the universities didn't lower their tuition costs at all. Yep. So it's like, hey, yes, you get this huge college experience for $20,000 a year, but you still have to pay $20,000 a year to sit in your mom's basement and take your classes online.
Again with the mom's basement. Poor guys.
The dad's basement, whatever you want to do. And your family's basement or your family's home. It's like you're not getting that experience. So this is the first semester that they have had that, to where it's like, hey, you have to go from home, but you still have to pay full price for your tuition. Well, a vast majority of college students do not think online courses are worth full tuition costs. According to a survey conducted by OneClass, a college course note sharing platform and digital course provider, nearly 94% of more than 10,000 college students surveyed said online courses are not worth as much as in-person courses. Only 4% of colleges are holding fully in-person classes, according to the Chronicles of Higher Education. The tuition costs have remained the same this fall, although there are no fees for room and board. The survey included 10,367 college freshmen, sophomores, and juniors at one of 191 colleges and universities in the United States. So at 191 college universities, 10,000 students were surveyed, and 94% of them said this ain't worth the cost. So now what is that going to do if they say next semester again, hey, there's no in-person classes again? To where I think you're going to see people not saying, you know what, I'm going to take a semester or two off because this massive tuition cost is not worth the price to go to college and further education.
Well, you say a tuition cost, but then they're forgiving your loans, and they want to forgive your loans now. I mean, what do you think the loan forgiveness? I don't think it makes sense at all. Period. Right? Granted, I didn't go to college, so I don't have any debt or anything like that. But there are people that I know personally that have had college debt, and they've gotten a second job or whatever it is to be able to pay that off.
Yeah.
They've busted their ass to be able to pay that off. Now you're saying, hey, look, you were willing to put in the work and everything. You're an idiot because, now we're just going to forgive everybody. Oh,
I've had that same argument.
So
it's like,
to me, it's like, then give them their money back then. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's not smart either. But my thing is, like, I get people are struggling. Just don't charge interest, maybe. Well, or maybe just delay the college debt for a year, Yeah, they
already do that.
Okay, so then what the fuck? Like, by forgiving, this is going to put a ton of money back into the market. In what way then? Because if they're already forgiving it, and let's say they're not charging interest, so then you're not paying, for a $100,000 loan, you're not paying $120 by the time you're done, or even more. I don't know how it compounds on it, but you're not paying an assortment amount. You're paying back what you borrowed. That money then should already be in the system. What more money is going to come into the system?
My thing with it is like, you're not fixing the problem. Like, you put a temporary Band-Aid on it again. You forgave this debt, great.
Yeah.
But now the next generation of people is just going to rack that debt back up because college costs are still continuing to rise at a very rapid rate, and kids are still getting into more and more debt. So yeah, you help people that are graduated debt now, but now it's just going to be refilled with this new people coming in with even higher debt costs.
Well, and
you're not fixing the problem. You're not fixing the incentivization of these private public universities.
Right.
Raising the cost because they know the government will fund these students to go attend their colleges. It's like there's no disincentive there, and that's why you get these ballooning courses of underwater basket weaving and these degrees that do nothing besides. They don't prepare you for anything. You can't go out and get a job.
Underwater basket weaving?
It's something people always say.
I'm just picturing that. I'm like, that would take some crazy skills.
There is a book I'm reading right now about, I can't remember the name of it, but it's over the Steve Schwarzman. He was the guy that founded BlackRock Investments in the 90s and stuff like that. It's about his college career. And he went to, I believe it was Yale University, and got a business degree when a business degree actually got you something.
Right.
But now a business degree has just become like a Ford Escort or the Toyota Camry of the car world. It's just like everybody has one. They're all over the place to where you can throw a stone.
Toyota Camrys.
You can
Don't
throw a
take offense,
stone and Ford Escort. Okay. But everybody has one because they can go and say, oh, go to college. We'll pay you to get it. We'll give you the loans at low interest rates to get a business degree and you can go get a better job. Well, now there's a plethora of business degrees, business programs that qualify for these financial aids that balloon these debts that don't get you a job.
My thing is more my fight against socialism, right? This whole democratic socialism, whatever they want to rebrand to, is that what motivate and please, if you're in the comments, even if you're watching the replay, put in the comments if you've gone to college. But if you've gone to college and you've busted your ass to pay for the degree and everything, do you value your degree more because of how hard it was for you to get it? And if you no longer have to pay for it, are you going to value it just as much, or are you going to work just as hard knowing that the shit is free? Because I've always heard you
said people going into college when it's free, not people that already have their degrees. They got it free.
Yeah. People going into college, like, because that was the whole Sanders thing, like free colleges and all this, right? And that was always my way of thinking, is like, the problem when you make things free or you make things too easy, nobody values it. You understand? It's the same thing with education. Like, why do and this is something that it kind of sucks in a way that, here's a quick little plug. We're doing a workshop, and it is a paid workshop because we're going to go into details on stuff. So check it out. But why people have to charge for education? Because if you put it out for free, people don't value it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lorenzo Martinez puts in here the GI Bill makes college free for veterans, and he says he does value it.
And that's great, Lorenzo. And of course, like, I'm sure, I'm saying the overall population. I'm not saying like your one-offs. Like, I value free education too. I got all my stuff.
The GI Bill is a perk of you putting in the work to be a veteran. So
right.
you sacrifice
You come
something.
with different disciplines already.
Yeah, you sacrificed something, your time and effort to be in the military, and this is a reward. So now that's different than somebody that we're talking about, the people that left high school and didn't sacrifice anything. They don't have to monetarily do it. They don't have to be in the military. They just go straight into college.
Yeah. So my thing is just that. It's like, I've always heard from people how, especially people that come from money, they're always taken care of and everything. It's like, they don't value school, right? Like, I knew a guy growing up. He was the son of my dad's boss at the time. And that guy had gone through, I don't know, like 4 or 5 different majors because, he was finding himself. And all because his dad was paying for it.
Yeah.
You understand? So he didn't value it. It didn't matter to him because there was no struggle. There was no, no, this is my parents' money, or, I see how hard my parents are working. There's no, in my opinion, right? That's what I'm looking at. Like, I value free information, but I also value pay. Like, if I pay for something, I consume the shit out of it, right?
That comes down to parenting at that point, so not let them value it. Or you're not teaching them to value it. It's like, look, you have 4 years that I will pay for college. Figure it out in that period of time, and you're covered. But if you switch your major 5-6 times, you're not going to graduate in 4 years.
Do you even think parents are going to care either if
it's
they know?
Free, no. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If we make colleges free, we make all this shit free. Do you think degrees are going to matter as much as far as like people really going after it when they know they can get it for free?
Well, I think you look back over time. So back in, like, say, early 1900s, graduating high school puts you a class above because a lot of people left. They left to go work on their family's farms. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So, and then the college thing came about. So now a lot of people, they said, you guys need to graduate high school. So the economy changed and people started graduating high school. It wasn't so much farming and it was working more industrial jobs. So you needed to have a basic level education to do that stuff. Well, then the economy shifted again. It's like, now you need to graduate college to function in society for what the economy needs. So now it came about. So we need to get more educated people. So let's open up these college programs. So now most people graduate high school, and now a lot more people are entering college, and they're getting this debt to try to function the economy. So now they're trying to say, oh, we need more college people. Let's make college free because you have to have a college degree to make any form of money. It's like, then the next thing is going to come about, like, you're going to need a graduate degree. Graduate degrees aren't free. Basic colleges, your 4-year degree is free, but now in order to be the specialist, you need to have a graduate program or become a professor or a master's or something like that. Right. So I think it's just another step along the way to where high school is already free. You're K through 12, we educate the kids. So now it's educating them all the way through college. You have to get everybody through college because you'll lag and fall behind. So that's where I think it's kind of going. You follow the trends of where it's kind of happening, because you already start to see some 2-year colleges are free. I think here in San Antonio, if you want to go to the Alamo Community Colleges, the first 2 years are at no cost. So you're already starting to see that shift in the market. So I think that's kind of which direction it's heading.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think we go back to that. I think if you do anything for free, it makes it that much harder to value it, in my opinion. But
I agree.
Who am I? I'm just a weirdo.
So, I mean, that's all the really topics I have for
Well, I wanted to actually talk about one more. So, Bitcoin. We talked about Bitcoin last week, and 2 weeks ago. It's been a roller coaster, right? It's been going up again. People are getting into it. We've been talking about how much, people are either getting into it because they're chasing that quick return. They feel they're going to become rich. And you have the other ones that are getting into it because they believe that the government or fiat currency, the dollar, stuff like that, it's not reliable. It's going to shit. It's not going to work. So it's currently at, I believe it was like 19,000, something like that. And then it came back down, and then it went back up.
Well, you look all the way back into March, and I think in March it dropped like 3,500 during when everything kind of crashed. It went with the stock market. All asset prices went down.
Right.
Right at that crash because everyone was covering their shorts and stuff like that.
So my thing here is that my wife sent me an article about Visa or American. Man, I can't remember which credit. Visa. They're coming out with a credit card that is going to give you cash back in Bitcoin. So that 1.5% cash back or whatever it is, it's going to be in Bitcoin, and it's going to have a $200 a year fee for having the credit card. I was like, like, to me, things like that, even though a lot of people are like, all right, and well, it's important. A major credit card company is starting to give you cash back in Bitcoin. One, I think maybe your point that was a few weeks ago of saying, I think they're monetizing on the people that are thinking they're going to get rich quick, right?
Yeah.
Of how trendy Bitcoin has become. So they're like, look, people are just hungry for this crap. We don't give a damn how they get their cash back. You understand? They get their cash back. We don't care. So then they're monetizing. I think it's a genius marketing strategy.
It's like it's dollar for dollar, whether the price of Bitcoin's 20,000 or it's 3,000. It's like it's $1 that we're giving you back, and it could drop, it could go up. It's whatever.
It doesn't matter, right? What matters is that you're getting that cash back in Bitcoin, and I think with this rise that we've seen, it shows how much demand there is for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
that $200 a year, I think, is going to go a long way for that company because the amount of people that are going to get it just for that perk.
But I mean, to my point, like, it's one more step to being a mainstream thing that's going to start stabilizing the price volatility of Bitcoin. In my opinion, it's like that's why Bitcoin. It's not a currency per se because not a lot of people are using it as a currency. But the more and more and more economic uses that come out for it, I guess is the way to be put it, like the more mainstream it becomes, the more businesses that figure out ways to make money off of it using Bitcoin, like Visa coming out with this stuff, that it stabilizes it and makes it stay where it is as some form of digital asset that you can hold. Because that's where a lot of people are saying it's like they're not using it as a currency, they're using it as a form of a digital gold, to where it's like a store of value that's out of the system and out of the control of the government per se.
And I think those are the two pools that we see, right? You have your digital gold replacement in a sense. along with the people that are speculating. You know, what's that app? Robinhood,
Yeah.
right? All those people that purchase those apps and everything so they can be investing in the stock market. They're probably, a lot of those people are probably buying into Bitcoin because of that. They're like, oh, you know, I can put $100 and look how much it's raised. And people are saying it's going to go to 50,000. So you have a lot of that. So I think what Visa is doing is genius. I think as far as spotting the trend and giving people what they want, for $200 a year.
Valeria just puts, they also needed a new incentive because airline miles aren't worth it anymore, because who knows how long before those come back. But
and I mean, a lot of people are converting those airline miles into, you know, gift cards and all this other shit, especially now, because it's like, you know, people aren't going to be going anywhere. But before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on kind of hitting that topic of airlines and travel and everything. The vaccine. They're saying they're going to be releasing the vaccine like now, right? They're saying in December it's coming out. It's going to be available.
By December 14th, they're going to have 20 million doses available in the United States. And
how many?
Texas, 20 million.
20 million.
Texas is going to get 1.4 of those.
And I mean, I think that's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's great. I hope enough.
UK's already approved it.
Yeah.
For use. So I think the FDA meets Monday, I believe, for approval.
You think that's putting pressure on the FDA, being that saying like, fuck, you know, the UK already approved it and we're
I think it would
behind?
For the sense that, oh, we want some extra validations. Like, yeah, but Pfizer's like, well, if you guys don't approve, we're going to send all these doses to the United Kingdom.
Pfizer's,
like we're going to sell it. Like, if the stuff doesn't
100%.
last forever, it's like we're going to put it out. Going to get it out in the economy, and if they can vaccinate the UK, like, go for it. So I think that does put some pressure on it.
So now you have the vaccines coming out. I was reading that first in line are the frontline workers, which I mean to me is a no-brainer, right? I mean, they're the ones that constantly exposed
your doctors,
to it.
Your teachers, your nurses. They said school teachers as well.
So, do you think people are going to take it? Because last time we looked at it, what did we have? Like 40% of the population was saying no.
I think at first no, but I think kind of into first quarter next year, the people are going to start taking it
into the first quarter.
Yeah, as it becomes more widely available. And now I think I just saw that Clinton, Bush, and Obama said they are willing to take it on camera. I was like, yeah, I can get a saline shot too on camera.
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess we'll take your word for it.
Yeah, you got to take word for it. But I think it is going to, like, the mainstream media.
I think you to Trump, kind of
what.
Bush, Obama, and
I don't
Clinton
think
coming together and saying that, and kind of like saying, you know.
No, I don't think it has anything F you to Trump, because Trump's the president the administration that got it done in 9 months or a year for a vaccine.
Well, this is probably going to be credited to Biden now.
Probably. Who knows how the narrative's going to switch. Yeah. But I do think, back to the original question, that I think by March, April, May, as it becomes more widely available, the media comes out and some people start taking, unless there's a severe adverse reaction to it, then people are gonna be like, oh, screw that, I'm not taking that.
Oh, isn't that what the testing is for? I mean, there shouldn't be any ridiculous reactions that should surprise them.
Yeah, exactly. But now that's once more people start taking it and they realize it's not that bad, that you don't grow a third leg or a second arm, or you have severe problems.
Some guys will be happy with growing a third leg.
Oh, come on. Really?
Come on.
I should have known you were
You teed it up too well.
Yeah,
we're going to be putting out.
But I think as more people start taking it, it's going to be slow at first. But then as more people start taking it, the narrative changes. The news comes out. The economic news comes out. These people, the infection rates are starting to drop, and they start personally knowing somebody that's taken the vaccine and they were fine. Then I think you'll get this wave of people starting to take it and move into it to where we are talking, where they say like the third quarter of next year, the vaccines will be widely available, to where anybody that wants one can get one, to where as those things kind of come to a head, that I think
you're saying anybody that wants one. My question is, now, is it going to become mandatory? Do you think companies are going to go as far as saying like, hey, if you want to keep your job, you need this vaccine, right? If you want to get on a plane, you need the vaccine. If you want any particular thing, you're going to need the vaccine. Like, it's going to become a part where you pretty much can't do most of your normal lives if you don't have a vaccine. Do you think it's going to be forced that way? Because I mean,
if people resist and don't take it, and they're like, they have all these vials sitting here, and their testing rates, their hospitalizations are still going up, the deaths are still rising and stuff, and nobody's wanting to take it, I think that's when you will start to see people start to force it. But I don't underestimate the power of the media and be able to switch a narrative, especially with who they wanted to get into presidencies now in the presidency. Like, I could see that narrative changing, and because it is good.
In what way? Like how amazing the vaccine is, and don't worry about it, you're great, and all.
Or
this?
just switching this, saying like new cases are dropping. Economic
regardless
news,
if people take or don't take it.
Oh no, people taking it and stuff like that. I think they'll switch the narrative some way, shape, or form to where if people don't want to take it, they'll start focusing on something else. They're saying like, oh, hospitalizations are now dropping.
But that's where I'm going at. If people are not taking it, right, and the media wants to switch the narrative, then those people that don't want to take it are gonna not want to take it even more, because it's like, all right, cool, look, I didn't take it and shit is still dropping, so why am I going to? So I'm saying, as far as
they get to start focusing on other things.
Obviously, the media doesn't care. They're just going for the ratings, right? But I'm saying, like, it doesn't fit the agenda of the virus is very deadly, right? So then it's like, well, it shouldn't.
It's very deadly to a certain subset of the population, which they aren't focusing on right now.
I'm saying, as far as the media and the left are pushing it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're pushing it now because they had, I believe, a political narrative behind it. They used it,
right?
They politicized it, but now they can switch that narrative to something else and start focusing on other things, and then this kind of falls off, and nobody starts thinking about it.
So that's where I'm going at. So you're saying that they don't actually believe the virus is that dangerous, or they don't care that it's that dangerous. What they cared about is getting their seats and getting their agendas
but they
pushed.
also cared the fact that they could use it, they could weaponize it to gain a political motive behind it, to where as it changes, they need to get. I mean, I believe either side, like they are. It's trying to get votes so they can maintain power. So now they used it to gain their narrative to push their candidate to the front, and now they want to show that their candidate's the one that brought us out of this. So now I think that's where things are going to shift and change, to try to gain more power and more votes and more people, more support behind them.
And Valeria says that, have to take it or lose their jobs most likely. So I would be interested to see those companies that come out in that regard of saying, look, if you want to work
like an elderly care home, places like, because it is very dangerous. Like there's
elderly care. Those people were the first ones to go back. When the lockdown stopped, the amount of people that they're like, everybody's in lockdown except people that need to be in an elderly care home. Yeah. They're not on lockdown anymore. It's like, they're the ones that are most at risk.
Yeah, but they had to be in a home as an elderly care home.
But
I could see things like that, the narrative changing from like, oh my God, everyone's getting sick, but then they're saying like, yeah, but who's testing that's getting sick? Because it has a 0.001% death rate of anyone under 45 with no underlying conditions. I think they start switching it to saying like more focusing and targeting like, okay, we need to protect this subset of the group, and people that interact with them either those elderly need to get vaccinated, and the people that are associated with them, but younger people, it's not that big a deal for them anymore. That's what I hope it is anyways. I
was about to say, you're going off of common sense, and nothing about this virus or the way they've treated it has been any common sense.
Currently. And that's just kind of, I think of it from a strategy standpoint of who it benefits more in what way.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of look at it and see which route it's going to go.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks.
We promise next week we will be able to.
Don't promise anything. I don't know what's going to happen next week. We're going to try again, and hopefully we launch.
Just say it has nothing to do with me. It's all on that guy over
there. Oh, look at you.
I just
pushing the blame. Pushing the blame.
I moved my mic. That's what I did to help.
Yes, that is exactly. That's all you did to help. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Again, if you guys find value out of this, just please share it. Let other people know. Subscribe.
Give us a like.
All those things help us. All the stuff, all the research, all the going live takes a lot of work, and we appreciate you guys watching. We do it because you guys are enjoying it and you keep showing up. But we do appreciate the shares and the subscribes and all of that. It shows a lot of love to us and the work that we put in. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sir.